May 17, 1943, Bremen, Germany, 25,000 feet above the Third Reich. Captain William "Wild Bill" Carver squinted through the scratched plexiglass nose of his B-17F Memphis Belle as flak bursts peppered the sky like black cotton balls. Below, the industrial heart of Bremen churned out U-boats that stalked Allied convoys. Above, Luftwaffe fighters, Focke-Wulf 190s and Messerschmitt 109s, circled like sharks, their pilots grinning at the sight of the American bombers lumbering through their domain. To Oberleutnant Egon Mayer, a 25-year-old ace with 63 kills, the B-17s looked like slow, fat geese ripe for the slaughter. "They send us flying barns," he radioed to his wingman, chuckling. "Let's carve them up." The Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress, with its slab-sided fuselage, 104-foot wingspan and greenhouse nose, didn't look like a weapon to fear. Its four Wright R-1820 Cyclone engines, each producing 1,200 horsepower, pushed the 36-ton beast at a leisurely 182 mph cruising speed, slower than a Messerschmitt's landing speed. To the Luftwaffe, accustomed to swatting down agile RAF Wellingtons and lightly armed Soviet bombers, these American machines seemed like sitting ducks. Each carried 13.50 caliber Browning machine guns, but German pilots dismissed them. "Rifle bullets," they scoffed, knowing their 20 cannons could shred an aircraft in seconds. What Mayer and his comrades didn't yet understand, as they dove toward the 100 B-17s of the 1st Bombardment Wing that morning, was that they were facing a revolution in aerial warfare. The B-17 wasn't just a bomber. It was a flying fortress, a machine designed to absorb punishment, deliver precision devastation, and outlast anything the Luftwaffe could throw at it. Within a year, these flying barns would become the Luftwaffe's nightmare, their synchronized machine guns and 4,000-pound bomb loads turning German cities into rubble and German fighters into wreckage. The mathematics of destruction were already loaded in those broad wings. 6,500 rounds of ammunition, 8,000 pounds of bombs, and a crew of 10 men trained to fight as one. The B-17 would prove that courage, engineering, and industrial might could break the back of the Luftwaffe's air defenses. The birth of a fortress. The B-17 story began in a 1934 panic. As Hitler rearmed Germany and Japanese bombers struck China, the U.S. Army Air Corps demanded a bomber that could defend America's coasts and strike deep into enemy territory. Boeing's engineers, led by E. Gifford Emery, responded with Model 299, a prototype that first flew on July 28, 1935. When reporters saw it bristling with 5 machine guns, carrying a bomb load bigger than anything in Europe, they dubbed it the Flying Fortress. The name stuck. The prototype shocked observers. At 33,000 pounds empty, it dwarfed existing bombers. Its turbo-supercharged engines could push it to 30,000 feet, where German interceptors struggled to breathe. Its Norden bombsight, a mechanical computer the size of a suitcase, promised pinpoint accuracy from 5 miles up. Test pilots were awestruck. "It's like flying a battleship," one remarked, marveling at its size and stability. But the Army was skeptical. Could this behemoth survive combat? Early crashes, including one that destroyed the prototype due to a forgotten control lock, didn't help. Yet by 1941, the B-17D was rolling off Boeing's Seattle assembly line, and the Army ordered hundreds more. First blood, the learning curve. On May 17, 1943, the 91st Bomb Group, including Memphis Belle, faced its baptism by fire over Bremen. The Luftwaffe had honed their anti-bomber tactics since 1939, perfecting head-on attacks to exploit weak frontal defenses. Mayer's Focke-Wulf 190s screamed toward the B-17s at 400 mph, 20 cannons blazing. The lead bomber, Yankee Doodle, took a direct hit. A cannon shell exploded in the cockpit, killing the pilot instantly. The aircraft nosed over, plummeting 20,000 feet before disintegrating. American gunners, many on their first mission, froze at the controls of their .50 calibers, overwhelmed by the speed and ferocity. The B-17s absorbed horrific punishment. Memphis Belle took 16 cannon hits and over 100 machine gun rounds. One engine smoked, a wing flap dangled uselessly, and the tail gunner, Staff Sergeant John Quinlan, reported a 20 hole big enough to crawl through. Yet the bomber stayed aloft. Its redundant systems, 4 engines, dual control cables, and a reinforced airframe, kept it flying. Captain Carver, a 28-year-old former crop duster from Tennessee, calmly navigated through the flak, dropping 12 500-pound bombs on Bremen's U-boat pens. Post-mission photos showed craters within 50 feet of the target, a precision German bombers could only dream of. The Luftwaffe's after-action report was dismissive. "American bombers are large, slow, and poorly armed," Mayer wrote. "Their gunners lack experience. We will destroy them in weeks." The 8th Air Force lost 11 B-17s that day, with 110 crewmen killed or captured, for only 2 confirmed German fighters downed. The RAF, watching from England, warned that daylight bombing without escorts was suicidal. But the Americans saw something the Germans missed. The B-17s that returned had taken damage that would have obliterated any other bomber. One aircraft landed with 1,200 bullet holes, a severed elevator cable, and a dead engine. Yet its crew walked away. The turning point, Schweinfurt, August 17, 1943. A true test came during the Schweinfurt-Regensburg raid, the deepest strike into Germany yet. The 8th Air Force launched 376 B-17s to hit ball-bearing factories critical to the German war machine. The Luftwaffe threw everything at them, over 300 fighters, including the elite Jagdgeschwader 26. The B-17s flew without escort for most of the mission, as P-47s lacked the range to reach central Germany. German pilots expected a massacre. They got one, but not the kind they planned. The B-17s flew in tight combat box formations, a revolutionary tactic that masked their machine guns into overlapping fields of fire. Each bomber's 13 guns, 2 in the nose, 2 in the chin turret, 2 in the top turret, 2 in the ball turret, 2 in the waist, 2 in the tail, and 1 in the radio compartment, created a 360-degree wall of lead. At 300 yards, a single B-17's guns fired 14 rounds per second, each .50 caliber bullet carrying 13,000 foot-pounds of energy. A formation of 18 bombers could put 2,500 rounds per second into the air. Lieutenant Georg Haas, flying a Messerschmitt 109, approached a B-17 formation head-on. His cannon scored hits, but the return fire was unlike anything he'd faced. "It was like flying into a hailstorm," he later told interrogators. His 109 disintegrated under a 3-second burst, wings sheared off, cockpit shredded. Haas bilayed out, one of the lucky ones. The Luftwaffe lost 59 fighters that day, 36 to B-17 gunners. The 8th Air Force lost 60 bombers, a staggering 15% of the force. But the survivors dropped 724 tons of bombs, crippling Schweinfurt's factories for months. The Germans were stunned. No bomber should survive that onslaught, let alone fight back. The fortress evolves. By late 1943, the B-17G arrived, addressing early weaknesses. A chin turret added 2 more .50 calibers to counter head-on attacks. Improved turbo-superchargers pushed the service ceiling to 35,000 feet. The Norden bomb site, now guarded like a state secret, allowed crews to hit targets through cloud cover using radar. Crew training intensified. Gunners practiced on moving targets, learning deflection shooting and lead estimation. The combat box evolved into a staggered formation that maximized firepower while maintaining bombing accuracy. German pilots began to dread the B-17. Oberstleutnant Hans Philipp, a 206 Victory Ace, met his end on October 8, 1943, attacking a B-17 formation over Bremen. Diving through the combat box, his Focke-Wulf 190 was caught in a crossfire from 6 bombers. Gun camera footage showed his aircraft exploding in a fireball, no parachute seen. Philip's death shook the Luftwaffe. If their best couldn't survive, who could? The B-17's durability became legendary. On February 1, 1943, all-American, a B-17F collided midair with a Messerschmitt 109. The fighter's wing sliced through the fuselage, leaving a gash that nearly severed the tail. Yet, pilot Lieutenant Kenneth Bragg nursed the bomber 800 miles back to England, landing with the tail held together by 2 feet of aluminum skin. The crew walked away, and all-American flew again after repairs. German intelligence refused to believe the reports until captured wreckage confirmed the impossible. The hammer falls. Big Week, February 1944. The turning point came during Big Week, February 2025, 1944, when the 8th Air Force launched 3,800 B-17 sorties against German aircraft factories. Escorted by P-47s and new P-51 Mustangs, the B-17s faced 500 Luftwaffe fighters. The combat box, now perfected, turned formations into floating fortresses. Luftwaffe losses were catastrophic. 355 fighters destroyed, 28% of their strength. The B-17s dropped 10,000 tons of bombs, gutting Germany's aircraft production. American losses, 158 bombers, were heavy but sustainable, thanks to Boeing's factories churning out 1,200 B-17s monthly. German pilots' confidence evaporated. Major Gunther Rahl, a 275 victory ace, recalled, "The B-17s were indestructible. You hit them with everything: cannons, machine guns, rockets. They kept flying. Their gunners were relentless, firing streams of bullets that tore our fighters apart. We couldn't stop them, only delay them." D-Day and beyond. On June 6, 1944, B-17s paved the way for D-Day, dropping 52,000 tons of bombs on German coastal defenses. Luftwaffe fighters, depleted by Big Week, barely appeared. By late 1944, B-17s were striking Berlin daily, their formations stretching 50 miles across the sky. The Luftwaffe, crippled by fuel shortages and pilot losses, was powerless. A single raid on March 18, 1945, saw 1,221 B-17s drop 3,000 tons of bombs on Berlin, escorted by 600 fighters. The Luftwaffe lost 38 aircraft, the Americans 6. The B-17's industrial backing was staggering. Boeing, Douglas, and Vega produced 12,731 flying fortresses by war's end. Each required 55,000 parts, 9 miles of wiring, and 2,500 pounds of steel. The .50 caliber ammunition alone, 1.7 billion rounds produced, could have filled 20,000 boxcars. The 8th Air Force consumed 400 million gallons of fuel in 1944 alone. Pilot training matched this scale. 50,000 bombardiers and gunners graduated annually, each with 300 hours of specialized training. German pilots, by contrast, flew 20 hours before combat in 1945. The Luftwaffe's reckoning. By April 1945, the Luftwaffe was a ghost. Surviving pilots avoided B-17 formations, knowing a single pass could mean death. Feldwebel Otto Kittel, a 267 victory ace, was shot down by a B-17 gunner in February 1945. His last transmission: "They're everywhere. I can't get through." The B-17's kill tally was staggering. 6,200 German aircraft destroyed in the air, 4,800 on the ground, plus 26,000 vehicles, 12,000 railway cars, and 2,000 locomotives. The 8th Air Force flew 332,000 sorties, dropped 732,000 tons of bombs, and fired 900 million rounds of ammunition. At a 1987 reunion in London, former Luftwaffe ace Adolf Galland summed it up. "We thought the B-17 was a joke in 1943, big, slow, clumsy. We were wrong. It was a fortress, not just in name. It could take our best shots and keep coming. Its guns turned the sky into a killing zone. But the real terror was America's industry. They built thousands of these beasts, trained thousands of crews, and supplied them endlessly. We couldn't match that. The B-17 didn't just bomb our cities, it bombed our will to fight. The B-17 Flying Fortress entered the war as a target of mockery and ended it as the hammer that crushed the Luftwaffe. Its crews, often boys barely 20, flew through hell and brought precision destruction to Germany's heart. The sound of those Wright cyclones, droning relentlessly over the Reich, became the sound of inevitable defeat. By May 1945, the skis were silent. The Flying Fortress had done its job, and the Luftwaffe was no more.